Hello students, today we are going to take the lecture 3 of the unit 1 Rise of British Rule in India Standard 9th. Myself Hiren Bhatt sir from GT Set Vidyalaya Rajkot. So in this part we will go for expansion of the company rule. The English government passed a regulating act in 1773 AD. So according to that act, the Governor of Bengal was made the Governor General, and all the trade and the political activities of the company were brought under his direct control. So the Mumbai, Madras Governor and his council were directly came under him, and Warren Hastings became the first Governor General of India. So you will have to keep in your mind, sometimes in blanks it will be asked, Warren Hastings became the first Governor General of India. During his time and tenure, the first Maratha War and the second Mysore War with Hyder Ali of Mysore was waged. The problems for the East India Company increased because it had to face both the powers simultaneously. Cornwallis took over as Governor General after Warren Hastings. During the tenure of the Cornwallis, the Third Mysore War took place with Tipu Sultan, which was famously known as Tiger of Mysore. The company had to join hands with Marathas and Nizam to defeat the Tipu Sultan. Tipu could not win against the combined forces and to accept the treaty. After Cornwallis, Sir John Shore became the Governor General, but due to some rigid policies which was adopted by him, the East India Company's fame declined and Marathas became stronger. So Governor General Wellesley, who came after Sir John Shore, got the responsibility of making the company supreme in India. Now we will go for subsidiary system, subsidiary alliance system of Wellesley. The condition of the system and the states adopted under this are, we can discuss as which were the terms. According to that, the first term was the army trained by the East India Company government will be provided to the state that accept the system. So for example, any state if accept this subsidiary alliance system, then what will happen? An army will be provided to that particular state to protect them. But in return, what they will have to provide? The state has to accept the system for the army or give away province with the equivalent income to the British. So directly or indirectly, they started to capture the province of India. And without the permission of the company, the state will not wage war or sign treaty with other state. And there will be one English representative in the state assembly. So we can say a spy of the British government will always keep an eye on the state assembly. And again, the king cannot make any kind of the treaty, even cannot wage war without the permission of the British government or British company. So actually directly or indirectly, they started to capture so many provinces of the India, even other foreigners not to be employed in the state. So many rules were imposed in this alliance system. and the states rulers who had accepted the subsidiary alliance system, among them Nizam, Mysore, Awadh, Gaikwad, Scindia, and Bhosle. But only one person, who was Tipu Sultan, who was not ready to accept the subsidiary alliance system. And that is why during the Fourth Mysore War in 1799, Tipu lost his life fighting against the British government. And thereafter, Wellesley then came Hastings to India as a Governor General of India. And he also waged a war with Nepal and made Gurkhas to join the army. Hastings fought a battle with the Pindaras and took control over them. Thereafter, there was the Third Maratha War, and the supremacy of the company was going to be established. So we know that then Dalhousie came, one of the most imperialistic ruler of the company, because he was the first imperialist, and Dalhousie adopted the theory or policy of the annexation. Annexation means to finish. Anyhow, in any kind of the pretext, under any kind of the pretext to capture. So such type of the policy. So he was considered as the most ambitious person. He has started annexation by war, and by war Punjab, Pegu, Lower Brahma had been captured. Then another was annexation due to king dying without heir. If any king has no son, so he will be considered as without heir. And under this pretext, he has captured Satara, Jaipur, Sambalpur, Udaipur, Jhansi, Baghat, and Nagpur. Thereafter, annexation on pretext of the mismanagement. He will tell any king, he would able to tell any king, for example, like Awadh king, yes, there was a mismanagement in your court. That is why you cannot go for as a ruler. Another pretext was annexation on pretext of debt collection. Nizam's province annexation to end a namesake rule, Karnataka, Tanjore. So such type of very imperialistic nature was of the Dalhousie, and during his time period he had already captured so many provinces. No doubt the first railway line in India between Mumbai to Thane, approximately 35 kilometers in 1853 AD, which was also established during the time of Dalhousie. So within 100 years from the Battle of Plassey 1757, the British rule and the empire both expanded. But in the process, they had to face the dissatisfaction of the Indian state, and this was manifested in the form of the first struggle for independence in 1857 AD. So this is an important short note, annexation theory of the Dalhousie. Now we will go for what was the economic and what was the social impact of the company rule in India. Because of the 100 years rule of the company in India, which had an unenviable position in the world in the previous centuries, England had a prospective market for goods produced in factories, and thereafter they can sell in India. Bengal exported cotton, cloth, raw silk, sugar, jute, muslin. But after the dual power policy, the glitter of the economy prosperity of the Bengal faded. the dual power policy, which means Dvimukhi Sasan Paddhati, that was introduced for the first time in Bengal, in which the power of collecting revenue was with the British, while the responsibility of the people's welfare was with Nawab. So Nawab had to do the good works for the people without revenue, without money. So this was known as the subsidiary alliance system, which ruined Bengal's economy. And that is why during the time of the company rule, the Indian peasant became a debtor. The Britishers government imposed unfair taxes on the Indian cloth industries. They adopted various deceitful practices to ruin the prosperous Indian industries, because of which it completely collapsed. The Indian artisans became too much poor and unemployed. The company trader forced the weavers of the Bengal to sign contracts for providing definite quantity of cloth in a short period of time. So the weaver refused and they became punished, or by they were imprisoned. So their condition was too much dolorous. And what was the social impact? No doubt, because of the British administration, the spirit of the freedom and speech and thought developed among the people, and because of the development of the newspaper in the Indian society, certain wrong social customs, rights, righteous were prevalent during this time, like sati system, female infanticides, child marriage. Raja Ram Mohan Rai and Durga Ram Mehta, Behramji Malbari, etc., were the stalwart personality who played an important role to make or to create renaissance in the Indian society. So the administrative framework in India was anglicized, and there was a demand of the people with the knowledge. So we can say the East India Company came to India allured by the prosperity and trade opportunity, and the company rule in India produced certain goods and bad results in the political, economic, social, and cultural fields. Thank you.
Subsidiary alliance system was an agreement between the native king and the East India Company. This system was introduced by Wellesley. According to this agreement, the native king will be protected against the attacks of the neighboring kingdoms by the East India Company army. The responsibility to protect the king and the kingdom 24/7 is of EICs. In return, the native king has to pay salaries to the East India Company army. He also should not wage a war or conclude a treaty of peace with any other native kingdom without the permission of East India Company. The foreign affairs of the native kingdom is to be managed by an officer of the East India Company stationed in the court of the native kingdom. Also, he is not supposed to employ any other European in his court other than the members of the East India Company. Indirectly, the power to manage things of importance were taken away by the East India Company from the native kings, whosoever signed the treaty. The king merely remained a puppet and only to pay salaries to the East India Company army. Slowly, the native kings, on the pretext of this treaty, were drained out of their wealth and of their power, and were pauperized finally. Kings which joined this policy and were victims of British tactics of expansion, to name a few, were the Nizam of Hyderabad, Mysore Raja Tipu Sultan, Nawab of Awadh, and many Maratha states also fell prey for this. The other policy which proved lethal and fatal to the East India Company power in India was doctrine of lapse. In India, earlier, if any king did not have a natural male heir to the throne, he would generally adopt someone and coronate him as the prince, who would later become king of that state. This is the norm in the native kingdoms of India, but according to this policy, if a king did not have male heir, that kingdom after the death of the king would fall into the hands of the EIC administration, and the adopted son cannot be a prince and has the right to rule in future is nullified. This policy was used by Governor Generals from 1834, but Dalhousie popularized it by occupying kingdoms extensively during his term as Governor General. This policy of Dalhousie's angered a lot of native kings and princes who became nobody after the death of their adopted fathers. This policy, unlike subsidiary alliance system, was not a mutual treaty between East India Company and the native kings. It was like a diktat which native kings and princes did not accept, yet they lost the kingdoms to the East India Company. Few kingdoms which fell prey to this policy were Jhansi, Nagpur, Satara, Udaipur, Orkot and many others. And in other kingdoms, they plotted against the kings with their army commanders or cousins for treason in an agreement that these treasurers, loyal ever so obedient to the royal Governor Generals of the East India Company, would be made as the Nawabs as a gift for their treason against the native kings. Also, in other kingdoms like that in the Punjab and Afghans, they did wage battles. That's how they were able to change the names of the rulers on the maps and cartograph the East India Company's name on the Indian subcontinent and etched a name for themselves in the history of India.